Well, again, my name is Pastor Rob Bailey here at South Lake Church, and we're going through a series during Lent called Be Still. Taking time to take a deep breath, to relax, to be with our Father. And we talk about the importance of finding a place where you can get away from things just to be with them. Last week we talked about the importance of being in Scripture, reading it, and taking time with others. Well, today when it talks about being still, what does it mean to wonder? Now, as I've prepared for messages, read, watch things, all the things that are happening, there are pastors, teachers that I look up to, that I think do a great job of sharing their faith, what's in the Bible, but they have one critique that drives them nuts when it comes to churches. It's those churches that say that you need to have a relationship with Jesus. Well, that's a problem because our whole point of us having South Lake and being together is relationships with Jesus. So why are they saying this? And I will tell you, their critique is valid because what they are seeing, why they're talking about it, is they see how a lot of churches and a lot of modern day Christians take this almighty God of all things and turn him into a prom date. Somebody that they might get excited for, have a crush on, somebody to look towards. And what happens when you start having to date somebody, have a crush on somebody, and things don't work out? You're devastated. The world's going to end. It's terrible. So the fear is, when you talk about having a relationship with Jesus, what happens when Jesus doesn't do all the things you want? What happens when he doesn't show up for things? Do you dump him? And we smile and we laugh, but that's one of the reasons why some people have issues when you say, well, I want to have a relationship with Jesus. And here's the other reason. Some worship songs, especially today, the joke is you could take any pop song, any love story, and take out him or her and put in Jesus, and it can be a worship song.
Hey, not today.
Not today, though. Not today. As Praise is making sure for everybody. Not today. But we laugh, we giggle, but that's kind of how our society takes this almighty, powerful of all things, our God, and make him a little love story. And what makes it harder to focus and be with God is the fact that we are distracted. I mean, let's face it, I can pull on my phone right now, right? Look at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I can do a whole bunch of things and not think about that he's in charge. I told you this over this last 2 weeks now. I've been trying not to use the snooze button. I did not hit my head this time walking out the door of my bedroom, so that was good. But it is easy how quickly I can get distracted, checking what's on my Facebook scroll, seeing some new TikToks that are on there, and forget that the whole point of waking up was to spend time with him. And lastly, as we were starting South Lake and talking with people, inviting people to church, some people would say to me, I don't need church. I've got my garden that I spend time with God. I go off on the golf course, or especially down here, I go out in the bay and see the sunset and the beauty. What they're sharing with me is they take time to marvel at what God does. But the reason why we have church still, and I'm glad to have all you guys here, is there is an aspect of relationship that it all works together. So we're going to work through that today. So our reading today comes from Psalm 24. And for those of you who have your bulletins, there's also an insert for you to help follow along with all the verses we're going to look at. So Psalm 24. As I shared with our reading today, Psalm 24 is part of 3 Psalms that just look at who our God is. From our God giving his life for us, for our God who's there to support us with Psalm 23, to a reminder who our God is, which is Psalm 24. And for David, I was going to look at verses 1 through 2 right now. The earth is the Lord's, the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness therefore, in the world of those who dwell within. And as for he founded upon the seas and established it upon the rivers, who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? Who shall stand in his holy place? So for David, he realizes who God is. When he says God, when they've got all the sacrifices happening, God's up there, but he's above all things. And the very waters, the very things that make the earth come together, his throne is the throne above all things. So he's addressing, when he says God, who he is. He who has a clean hands and pure heart, who does not lift up his soul to what is false, and does not swear deceitfully. And by all the kids in the room, when you see in the Bible it says swear, what it means is, on my honor, God bless me that this is what I'm saying is true. Don't use God to try to prove a falsehood or a lie. When you read that, he who has clean hands, pure heart, lift up his soul to what is false, does not swear deceitfully. How many of us, if we take a moment and look in the mirror, can say that's somebody like myself right now? Somebody in the back is pointing at herself right now. Anyway, the answer is, I even look at this, realize I fall short of this. And the question becomes, if I'm not worthy to go up to that throne to talk with him, who can? He will receive a blessing from the Lord and the righteousness from God of his salvation. Such is a generation who seek him, who seek the face of the God of Jacob. Again, during this time period, people are worshiping all kinds of idols, temples, all the things, even in Israel. But where David is, God is his God. And we'll get back to that seek thing again before we're done today. Lift up your heads, O gates. Lift up, O ancient doors. The King of glory may come in. Who is the King of glory? The Lord, strong and mighty, the Lord, mighty in battle. Lift up your gates, lift them up, O ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. Who is the King of glory? The Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory. So for David, when he talks about God, when he talks about his Lord, he's talking the creator of all things, but he says here a couple times, right? The Lord of hosts, all the angels, the armies, everything. He's the commander of all that. And I want to receive that. I want to be a part of that. But who could stand against that? When David talks about wonder, he realizes for himself who God is and how unworthy he is. Now there is a pastor, now professional speaker, author named Francis Chan. And he has been on one interesting spiritual journey for the last 15 years. He wrote a book called Crazy Love, and though there's opinions I have, he does something at the beginning of the book that sets the similar tone. He criticized himself for when he went to go pray, like David here, did he see the God above all things? Did he see the God in charge of all things? Did he come to him as his almighty creator or as his best buddy? And he took a moment and realized how lucky he was to call the creator of all things his best buddy, and it scared him. It scared him because, wow, God would allow me to be a part of his life. Who am I? And our next reading here kind of gives us an idea of what Francis was dealing with, is with the disciple John in the book of Revelation. Because we're going to read now, what did he see? What did he experience? So again, it's in your handouts. Revelation chapter 4. John is having this vision, and in this vision, this is what he sees. And after I looked up, and behold, the door standing open in heaven, and the verse voice which was heard was speaking like a trumpet. Come up here, and I will show you what must take place after this. And at once I was in the Spirit, and behold, there was a throne stood in heaven, one seated on that throne. similar to what David's describing, the throne above all thrones. And he who sat had an appearance of jasper, of carnelian, and the throne was a rainbow that was the appearance of emerald. So now he's seeing this beautiful picture of this light, and light being broken up in all its different phases, up to the point it's a full rainbow. And around the throne was 24 thrones, and seated where the thrones were 24 elders, clothed in white garments, golden crowns. And from the throne came flashes of lightning, rumbles, peals of thunder. Before the throne was burning 7 torches of fire, which were the 7 spirits of God. And before the throne there was a sea of glass, like crystal. And around the throne and on each side of the throne were 4 living creatures full of eyes. I don't know about you, and I see that, I might have a few words to say, or maybe one word in particular. And it's not of, oh, how mercy it is, it's duck and cover. John is giving us a picture, like David, of the might and beauty of who God is. So when we say our Father in heaven, that's who we're talking about. And what David brings up, the only people that can be in front of such a God is somebody who's pure. The beauty and the whole point of Christianity is not just that there is a God who made all things, but he made all of us. And though that we struggle, we have brokenness, we have things we say, things we've done, things we're struggling with, God said, you know what? You matter to me enough that I want you here with me. And since the only people that can be with me are perfect, my son is going to take all your imperfections, your sin, on his life, so that you can have life with me. So when we talk about wonder, as we talk about the mighty things of who God is, it's important to remember that he created all things, in charge of all things, and we get to call him Father. Which goes back to why itself, like we talk about relationships with Jesus. Because he has made all things, but he's also your Father. And we get to call him Father. Our other reading is from Matthew chapter 7. This is at the end of Jesus teaching the Sermon on the Mount. And here he gives us an example of who we get to talk to. This mighty God with peals of thunder and lightning, with a rainbow and all these things, of all these others around. This is how Jesus says we can come to him. Starting in verse 7. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open. For everyone who asks receives, and one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks it will be open. That sounds amazing, but here he goes on to explain. Or which of you, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, give him a serpent? If you then who are evil know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? And I bring this point to get us back here, that we make a point that as we've seen how mighty and powerful our God is, Jesus reminds us he still cares about you, looks for you, to you, because he is your Father. And that is a hope, and that is a joy that I'm reminded every day where I get to be with him. And if you look at your reading, what does Jesus say? Those who ask, seek, knock. What does David say? Such is the generation of those who seek him, who seek the face of God, coming to be with somebody we have a relationship with. So this week, I encourage you to take that time to look at the world of all the things happening. Get off your phone, turn off Netflix, and see what this mighty God has created, that you're a part of, as his. This past week, I got a chance to wonder. One way I did was when the families came together and we went to see For King and Country. And just to be part of the group, there's 18 of us, to see the kids having a great time, parents, couples together, enjoying one each other, being with one another. And I just got to experience and watch all that happen together. It was awesome. It was cool. It was beautiful. In the same way, this past Monday, we had our Being with Jesus with our Bible study, which is just a group of people coming together, reading the same passage, and then sharing thoughts, comments, what you thought about, what was new to you, what was brought up. I learned that there's 4 types of grasshoppers that are kosher. I did not know that. Thank you, Jim. Where's Jim at? Thank you, Jim, for looking that up. I had no idea. You got people that ask the question, how uncomfortable would wearing camel's fur feel on your skin? When Jesus says, when the Father says to Jesus, "You are my beloved Son," who heard it? Was it just Jesus? Was it Jesus and John? Was it everybody? It was fun to watch people just read and be together, to wonder. So this week, I encourage you and I invite you to wonder what God is doing in your life. For he is your Father, the creator of all things.